Today we're going to be sharing with you our favorite fruit wine to make here on the farm. That's up next. Hello everyone, this is Dwayne.
And Lori.
And this is Edge of Nowhere Farm. Now we have talked about this particular wine in the past, but we've made a few updates to the recipe that we wanted to share with you. Today is all about what?
Making mulberry wine.
First thing we need to do, of course, is harvest. Now we do want to clarify what we're harvesting, and what we're using in our mulberry wine here are the Shangri-La mulberries. All right, once we have them harvested, what do we do next, hon?
So we actually freeze them before we actually start our wine.
And you can leave those frozen for quite some time, but freezing them helps to break down the cells. So when we take them back out of the freezer, it actually helps to release the juice much easier. So once we get them out of the freezer, we need to see how much we actually wound up with. What was do you remember what our weight was?
So we had 98 pounds of Shangri-La mulberries.
So thawing this is pretty straightforward. We just separate them out into buckets, let them thaw for at least 24 hours, and then we get to what?
We get to mashing them.
Yep, we crush them by hand. So that's what we do next. So we have large fermenters here because we're used to large batches of wine. In this case, we wound up with about 11 gallons of must to start out. Once we strain out a little bit of juice from the must, we go ahead and take our first specific gravity read. Do you remember what our specific gravity was when we started?
It was 1.072.
So that would net us out at about 9.5% alcohol when it's all said and done, so not too shabby. So now with mulberries, you want to be careful when it comes to how much acid you're adding. Our Shangri-La mulberry is a very good balance of acid and sweet. Some mulberries are very, very sweet and might need a little bit more acid, so you gotta play this one by ear. But we did add a little bit of acid. Do you remember how much we added?
Yeah, we added 5.5 teaspoons.
Last but not least, here in the very beginning, is we do go ahead and disinfect this. We wanna make sure we're killing off any bacteria or wild yeast, just to make sure that we know what the end product's gonna look like. You can use sodium metabisulfite is what we typically use, or Camden tablets, or a combination of both will do that just fine. So you do wanna give this some time to off gas. We usually give it at least 12 to 24 hours. So we're back the following day, and now we're gonna add a couple more ingredients before we pitch the yeast.
So we're gonna add a yeast nutrient as well as a pectic enzyme.
These will help because these are not grapes, and so this will help with the fermentation process and clarifying. So both of those ingredients are what we always use for our fruit wines. Now for yeast, we're trying something a little bit different this time around. We've always used Red Star yeasts in the past. However, after doing some research on ideal yeasts for fruit wines, this Lavlin yeast came up as an option, so we're trying that out this year. So after the first 24 hours, you can see the yeast is definitely doing its job. You have a clear separation of liquid from the rest of the must.
4 days later, we will actually rack this into our secondary.
So now we have a juice press, so we do use that to press all of the material to get as much wine as we possibly can, but really not necessary. So it might have netted us maybe quarter to a half a gallon at the most. So now we give this about a month in the closet to go ahead and continue to ferment down and convert more of that into alcohol. 1 month later, we will rack this into a new container and test the specific gravity. At this point, our specific gravity reading was 1.008, so not quite done fermenting. But one thing we are changing this year is this is when we actually add the rest of our sugar, at least we did in the Mulberry wine. We have a chart that we use that we've been using since we started making wine out of a wine booklet that we got with our first kit. So we use that chart when it comes to determining how much sugar to add. So in this case, we added a little bit more sugar to get up to just over 10% alcohol. Do you remember what we added?
We added 1 pound, 5 ounces.
So that should get us up to about 10% alcohol, which is right about where we want it. All right, so after a few months, that's gonna obviously finish fermenting. We'll re-rack it again, get it off the sediment, maybe once or twice in that time period, and then we'll get it bottled up. Speaking of bottled up, we have last year's wine that we wanna try for you guys. Let's take a look. Ooh. So we got our Mulberry wine from last year. Beautiful, nice and clear red wine. This is probably the darkest wine that we make. I mean, it is basically purple. It has a beautiful, beautiful berry smell to it. So it's got a little bit of the tannins in there because of the being on the skins. That balance of acid and sweet is really good. Oh, that's
really good.
That's a fantastic wine.
Yeah.
So now last year we back sweetened quite a bit, which we won't be doing this year. This one's really strong. So I think this one we wound up with about a 16 or 17% alcohol. So we're gonna back that down just a little bit. But man,
very good.
That is good. Mm-hmm. So just wanna thank you for joining us today. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. We cover a lot of things here on this newly established functioning farm and would love to see on a regular basis. If you have any questions or comments, those go in the
comment section down below.
And our Amazon shop, I'll leave the link down in the description. That's a free, painless way to help support the channel. If you start with the link down below, it doesn't matter what you buy, you help to support us here. Oh, and hey, in that link, you'll see this wine bottle opener. One of your favorite kitchen gadgets, right?
I love this thing.
It works fantastic.
We actually saw this in a TV show we were watching and had to search on what it was and where we got it, or where she got it, yeah.
We've been using it, we've done, I don't know, a lot of bottles of wine with it. It works fantastic.
It's really cool.
Yep. Oh, and then lastly, we have a couple things that we will post for you here or go ahead and show you now. We have our winemaking notes, so it actually will show you all of the ingredients and the totals that we had for today. Oh, and lastly, the conversion chart that we use in order to up the alcohol content, we'll show you that here as well. So just want to thank you for joining us today and remind you, if we can farm on the edge of nowhere,
so can you.
Mm-hmm. Wine time.
Do you want to have the Shangri-La over here? Just in case we need to see it, which we probably won't, because we moved everything in there. But I don't want
Pay no attention to this.
Ooh, I don't want my
There's
glasses
nothing going on down there.
Oops.
Yeah, you're doing great.
Thanks.
We haven't even started drinking yet. Maybe that's the problem.
It is for me.
I know how much you love this. Let's go ahead and round that up to 100. Let's say we had about 100 pounds of mulberries.
No, we had 98 pounds.
There's a bug in mine. I've been trying to...
Is there really?
I've been trying to not drink it.
How did a bug get in there?
I have no idea. A fruit fly. Go figure.
Well, I don't have my glasses on, so who knows.
You might be drinking
mine.
You probably just drank yours down.
Whatever.
Crunchy. So just want to thank you.
Take 5.
I swear I've only had this one sip. Is the bug still in there? I ate the worm in the bottom of the tequila.